Afternoon, everyone. Bill Rentschler alongside Sports Director Kevin Sjuts in the 1011 Now streaming studio. Another fall camp practice, Kevin, is in the books, number 11. I believe we have 25 practices in total before they leave for Minneapolis on August 30th. So right in the middle of fall camp and the dog days of August.
And how cool are your logos?
I know, right?
That is awesome.
That's pretty neat.
First time I've seen those.
Animates in, animates off. We got a Bill and Kevin. We got a Bill.
Look at you.
You are Chase. I know.
You are mid-season form, and we're still 2 weeks into preseason.
I know. Well, that's how antsy I am for to really get into some real football and not just fall camp. So
I love it.
Excited again to kind of talk about fall camp again today. Again, we heard from defensive coordinator Tony White, Rob Dvorak. Linebacker day. We had linebacker coach, a lot of linebackers there today. What were kind of your highlights from today?
Well, we got a black shirts question.
We did.
First time since camp has started. And we didn't learn anything, but there was a question about black shirts. Tony White didn't give anything, but he says that he's aware. He's not going to say how they're going to do it. But the big thing for him and his staff is to try to learn about the black shirt tradition, and not just how it originated, but it sounds like they've talked to a number of guys who have been black shirts within the program. Mm-hmm. So they're trying to learn from the guys that have worn the black shirt and figured out what worked for them, what they liked about it, how was it managed back then, and I'm sure they're going to put their own little spin on it. This coaching staff is, they're not immune to new traditions. I think they're also embracing old ones as well, and this is one that we're still waiting to see. We have single-digit jerseys now.
We have seen those.
But we don't have black jerseys at practice just yet.
And so I think for the single-digit jerseys, we have Billy Camp now, who's number 1. I think it's Isaac Gifford is
number 2. Yep.
Is number 2. Luke Reimers 4. Jeff Sims 7. I also saw that Ethan Piper was voted for a single-digit jersey. He obviously
an offensive lineman is not going to be a single-digit.
He can't
jersey.
wear it, so I saw he's going to keep his 57. And Adam Carricker and the Bullocks brothers were some of the names that Tony White threw out today about former black shirts that he's talked to, and with how detailed.
I bet there's another one that he's Trev Alberts.
I'm sure.
I'd say that might be another guy he talked to.
And with how detailed we've seen this staff really be, I'm sure they'll get the black shirt tradition. They'll probably put their own spin on it, but I'm sure they'll get it right. With the Chief Borders who spoke today, that man is a fireball. He
got a lot of personality.
A lot of energy. I really liked at the very end. I had already ended the record, so if you see it on the 1011 platforms, he walked away from the podium, but then walks back to give a Go Big Red.
And he leans down and goes, "To the greatest football fans in America, Go Big Red."
Yeah.
Then he walked off. It was his parting shot. It was fantastic.
It was.
It's almost becoming, some of these post-practice interviews, Bill, it's like open mic at the very end. We saw Evan Cooper earlier this week, too. Mm-hmm. Like, he was done, all the questions were done, and, like, he looked straight into the camera and gave a shout-out to his kids. That was awesome.
Yep.
So I'm sensing a trend here.
Yes.
That these guys, when they're done,
they're going to
they'll throw a little. But I'm glad to see that they're keeping it light. They're not taking everything too serious, mm-hmm. And they're having a little fun. Because we're in the window now, Bill, where the rigors of fall camp can really set in. And it can affect play. They're not in class yet, and mm-hmm. that's going to be another element. Is once the semester begins and they have school to attend and homework to keep up on, then that's going to be another game changer. But I feel like they've kept it fresh. They've kept their energy, and the rigors haven't hit because they went to a water park last night. They've been living in the dorms. They went to the Nebraska soccer match together. Mm-hmm. So they've had a lot of elements that have made it so it's not just football, and then their bodies are just getting fatigued.
And on top of that, again, we've switched around practice a little bit, a couple times over the past week, night practice and afternoon practice, more time for recovery, because, again, I think a lot of the media have kind of reached the point where it's like, okay, we can only watch practice so many times. Like, let's play an actual football game. I'm sure the players are probably the same way. Kind of once you get into
I could watch a lot more practice. I really could. I mean, their practices are fascinating to watch because, as I've said before, these coaches do not miss a moment to instruct. It's the one takeaway I have. The biggest takeaway I have of fall camp is whether it's a position coach, Matt Rule, they are constantly giving feedback, instruction, and trying to refine. And there's no mistake that is too big or too small. If there's a minor detail, they will jump in and they will say something about it. But yeah, I could keep watching practice. And plus, there are still some guys we have not seen at practice yet that I would like to see once we get the opportunity. We'll get another chance this upcoming week. And yeah, they're getting better. We still don't really know what a team at practice looks like in a game scenario. So if you're going to ask me about win total for this year, I'm going to give you the answer that I've given everybody. I don't know. I have really no idea if this is a 4-win team, 6-win team, or maybe even a 7 or 8-win team. I have zero idea.
I did. I had in my TikTok feed, someone did a win-loss projection of each game for Nebraska, and they had them going like 9-3.
No.
Which I was like, The Husker fan in me is like, that sounds great, but, like
that person's drinking the
Roulade.
There you go.
They are drinking the Roulade. So we have some, again, just some practice video that we shot earlier this week here rolling on the screen so we can kind of see some of that. I guess this week, and really, who do you think has stood out the most, would you say? Has there been a name that you've heard a lot of buzz about this week?
Yeah, so we're 2 weeks into fall camp, so you have those fall camp stars, right? The guys that have really emerged. I would give you name number one is Isaac Gifford. Any player on the team, any coach on the team, they are so quick to mention Isaac Gifford, the way that he is leading the defensive backs, the way that he is performing on the field. He's a local guy too, so that makes everybody feel warm and fuzzy around here. Isaac Gifford, a familiar name, he's having an outstanding camp. Jeff Sims, I think he's having a very good camp, and he's leading this offense, and it sounds like, from what we know, his turnovers have really decreased. That's a concern about him.
That was a concern after the spring game.
So those are a couple of names. There's one offensively, where there's one defensively, and then the hot one out of camp today is Eric Fields. He's a true freshman who joined the team in this recruiting class with Matt Rule. His high school tape just oozes of athleticism and playmaking ability on defense. They have him at the rover spot, so he's on the back end of the defense. He's making a lot of plays. He's also making several mistakes. But
as freshmen usually do.
Yes. But it seems like everybody is so attracted by the plays he is making that he is kind of moving up in terms of the hot names at Nebraska fall camp. And then we can't leave out the offensive line. Of course, the offensive linemen, they're not going to get too many headlines because all they're doing is blocking each other time and time again. They're not scoring touchdowns. But I feel like that unit as a whole has been pretty consistent at fall camp based on everything we know. So if we're looking for some of those guys who have been good at fall camp, Turner Corcoran, Ethan Piper, those are a couple of them. Ben Scott, some of the guys that are on that top unit with the O-line, I feel like they are maybe some of the non-headline grabbing good performers at camp.
Sometimes if you're not coming up in the news conferences, that just means you're doing your job and you're playing well.
Right.
And back to Eric Fields, Tony White said he's a fast man. And when he doesn't necessarily have to think and can just see ball and go get ball, he's very fast.
And that's this defense. That's what they want them to do. And overall, my big takeaway out of Friday's practice was this. Speaking about the defense, and we heard from some of the linebackers, is that this coaching staff, they have 2 weeks of inventory, 11 practices, and they are not going to continue force the players to continue to learn certain plays. It's the coaching staff's obligation now to go through everything and eliminate the things that they're still having problems with. So, wow, what a mind-blowing concept.
I know, right?
The coaches aren't saying, we have to get this right. We must do this. Instead, they're saying, we're really good at X, Y, and Z, so we're not going to worry about A, B, and C and continue to work on that. I'm sure that they'll still have concepts and things that they want to incorporate, but they're at the point in camp where they're going to try to focus on what is working, what their players are really grasping, and just honing in on those. And that's a pretty good plan for a Big Ten game in week number 1.
I would agree. I think Tony White, the way he phrased it was, if it's too expensive, it's getting tossed.
That's right.
One last question for you, Kevin. I'm really intrigued, me personally, by the special teams kicker battle that we've been having going on in fall camp. Returning starter Timmy Bleekrode, again, he performed very well last year, again, especially considering where special teams was in 2021. Yeah. And then Tristan Alvano, again, freshman kicker coming in from Omaha, kind of already has his own backstory with all the kicks he made in Memorial Stadium. Have you heard anything, seen anything, how that battle has been shaking out so far this camp?
Our most recent update is it's still pretty up in the air. Sounds like it's pretty even. The big question with a freshman kicking on a college football team, that is not an anomaly. Like, that happens everywhere. Kicker is one sport where you can come in and kick as a freshman, no doubt about it. Because physically, you're not going up against somebody that's 4 years older than you and maybe 100 pounds heavier than
Hopefully
you.
you're not being hit.
Hopefully you're not being hit, exactly right. So really, how do you evaluate a freshman? Can you handle the pressure? And Tristan Alvano has not been in a pressure cooker situation quite yet. Ed Foley says that this kid is pretty unshakable. So let's see if Alvano can perform when there's a high leverage moment. And I think that's his avenue to getting the job because he does have a big leg. Even Timmy Bleekrode said, yeah, the kid has some pretty good range. But let's not dismiss Timmy Bleekrode because this is a kicker that made 75% of his field goals last year. And he was 34 of 35 on PATs, and the one miss was blocked. Not his fault. So Bleekrode's a pretty reliable option. I think everybody might get caught up in Alvano fever because he's an Omaha guy, and everybody saw what he did in the Class A state championship last year. So it is a great storyline. It's a great position battle that everybody is intrigued by, but it seems to me like Nebraska has two pretty good options there. So it's not like that one position is going to make or break how the season is going to go, because if it's Tristan, they're going to be in good hands. If it's Timmy, they're going to be in good hands. I think some of the other positions, there's maybe a little bit more concern about the options you have at those spots.
That will be an interesting one to watch here.
Absolutely.
So, anything else we need to talk about before we let everyone go today?
Everybody's been interested in the fact that the team is living at the dorms.
Yes.
Selleck Hall.
So the quadrangle.
And you're seeing all the videos of the pranks that are being played on the coaches and the fun that the guys are having and the different goofy things they're doing to try to make dorm life okay for a bunch of these guys. They move out on Saturday.
Yep.
They've got a scrimmage Saturday morning, and then after that, get all the boxes opened up again, throw them all in, and they're getting out of Selleck Hall.
Yep, going to go back to their regular beds, which I'm sure for a lot of them will be much appreciated.
I talked to one of the offensive linemen's dads the other day, and I asked how that's going. He said, I think he's really liking it, except for the bed. And I think that Dad's probably heard about that.
I did see Nebraska Furniture Mart actually tweeted at Ty Robinson about getting him set up, so there could be an interesting NIL opportunity.
I was just going to say, there are NIL opportunities for days regarding Nebraska football players and what they experienced in the dorms.
Awesome.
So that's going to be another big change.
It will be.
And it's almost like they're going to go back to a new normal starting on Monday.
And then back to classes, I believe, early next week. So things changing for certainly the players on how things are going to go over the next 2 weeks. So Kevin, thanks so much for jumping in and joining us. You'll have practice report coming up 6 and 10 in the newscast, correct?
You bet.
Awesome. So you can catch all of Kevin's content there. Again, for Kevin Sjuts and Bill Rentschler from the 1011 Now streaming studio. As always, appreciate everyone for tuning in and for watching. Keep it tuned to 1011 both on air and online for all your latest news, weather, and sports. Thanks, everyone. Have a nice Friday afternoon.